News station.
1 minute they were preparing to leave, the next they were tackling a feat they'd never forget.
The split-second decision that saved a life is coming up.
Thanks for joining us on your Tuesday afternoon.
Topping our 5:30 news, a man who admitted to murdering his adopted mother will spend more than 17 years behind bars. Mark Heavyrunner was handed down his sentence in federal court today. He told the court this spring that he killed Marie Heavyrunner in Browning last July. Her body was found last November beneath her own home. Mark Heavyrunner claims the two got into an argument, so he strangled Marie and submerged her in a bathtub. Mark asked his son Thomas to help dispose of Marie's body. They covered her in blankets and moved her to the crawl space. Thomas was sentenced to 6.5 years in federal prison. Mark was given 17.5 years.
A man who started 2 standoffs with Great Falls police in the last 9 months is going to federal prison for nearly a decade. Charles Jackson was sentenced in Great Falls this morning for being a felon in possession of a firearm. It was last October when Jackson and a woman got into a verbal argument on 2nd Avenue North that escalated into shots being fired and 2 felony charges for Jackson. In January, a similar scene unfolded just about a block away that also led to 2 charges. Back in the mid-1990s, Jackson was convicted of several felonies in Washington state, which prohibited him from possessing firearms. Because he violated that rule, the 39-year-old will spend 8 years in prison. He was also given an additional 3 years of supervised release.
2 young boys are receiving praise from the community after they rescued a drowning man from the Missouri River over the weekend.
KRTV's Tara Grimes shares what these boys experienced as they performed the courageous act.
It was hot out and we just came out to hang out on the river.
It was just another day by the river for 14-year-old Jake VIDAL and 10-year-old JT Whitaker. But as their families packed up, everything changed.
Not even a minute before we're leaving, we're out there. And then his dad yells, "Go save that man."
VIDAL and Whitaker watched as a 20-year-old man bobbed up and down in the river, the undercurrent pulling him and his girlfriend down.
He was doing the dead man's float, like all you could see the top of his head and his arms were just floating on top of the water, and he put him way down and just took one more big breath.
Without thinking, they rowed their paddle boards toward the man and his girlfriend.
Once I got over there, I kind of like stopped and I threw my paddle upstream. And then I kind of just like, he started going down and I used my arm to get closer to him. And then that's when I only seen his head and he was floating on top of the water. And then I just, I reached out just as far as I could and then I just got his fingertips and I pulled him onto the board.
I was helping his girlfriend pushing him up. I was kind of emotional. I was about to cry kind of. It was just scary.
And in that moment, it almost seemed as if it was a miracle they were there that day.
He came up and he was blue. Yeah, he was on the brink. Like one more second, I think he'd have been gone.
But they say they are happy and relieved because even they know just weeks ago, another man drowned in that same spot. In Great Falls, Tara Grimes for Montana's news station.
And the boys were wearing life vests at the time and credit swimming lessons for helping them save the man's life.
An evening out on the river tonight would be ill-advised.
Mike, tell us more about what's to come this Tuesday.
Well, guys, we have showers and thunderstorms that have popped up around north central Montana. Some of these storms producing some lightning, some of these storms producing some gusty winds as well. Take a look at Storm Tracker Doppler radar out toward Phillips and Valley counties right now. A cluster of showers and storms, and also right over Conrad. We've had a pretty strong storm moving through. These are going to continue for the next several hours, so keep an eye to the sky. I'll have an updated look at your Wednesday forecast when I come back in just a couple of minutes.
All right, thanks, Mike. Good news from the fire lines across southeastern Montana tonight. The complex of fires burning out of control for the past week are all nearing containment.
While fire crews are now focused on working to rehab the land, landowners are still trying to cope with a devastating loss of livestock and grassland.
The news station's Dustin Kleeman traveled to ranches near Ashland to visit those affected by these fires.
And we do want to warn you, some of these images may be unsettling.
Devastating fires usually hit later in the summer, not June. But with the lack of precipitation and dry weather conditions, the Ash Creek fire scorched 249,000 acres in less than 2 weeks. Rancher Cecil Kolka says the fire came close to his home, but praised firefighters for their efforts.
It looked like they were going to be able to keep it away from us. I mean, we had confidence in them too, and they really needed to be given a lot of credit. They were a good bunch of firefighters that come in here.
Firefighters couldn't save everything, and now ranchers must deal with the damage. The Ash Creek fire affected not only homes, but 8,500 livestock, leaving them without adequate food or water, even killing them.
It's really devastating to see the numbers and the loss here. We're just kind of living with it, I guess. I don't know. We don't even know how many we have up to this point.
Kolka estimates half of his 800 cattle have been killed by the fire and more could be in critical condition.
I'd say she won't make it.
Associate Agriculture Director Haley Shipp says the national economic effect of Montana's cattle loss is growing.
Here in our region, we were expected to be the ones that would help to build up the U.S. cattle herd that's at the lowest it's been in over 50 years. And then now that we've gotten hit with this, we're not able to build up. We're running into that same thing where we're selling now, too.
The USDA Farm Service Agency is setting up programs to assist livestock producers for those who don't want to sell their cattle. The programs include acreage for emergency use. And even though these fires deliver a huge blow for cattle business, Kolka says the only thing to do is endure and persevere.
We have managed to keep staying here and surviving, and we're pretty determined, I guess, to make this our home for the rest of the time.
Near Ashland with photographer Paul Humphreys, I'm Dustin Kleeman for Montana's news station.
Livestock owners are invited to attend a meeting this Thursday evening in Ashland with Congressman Denny Rehberg. It will outline what resources are available to help recovery and prevent further losses and damages.
Well, our trees are starting to feel the heat, so the city forester is spreading the word on how to keep them growing strong. Todd SEYMANSKI says we should not be deceived by sprinkler systems. Most systems only stay on for about 20 minutes, which is not enough to soak down to deeper tree roots. He says trees should be watered for several hours at a time. The best place to water a tree is not up against the trunk, but rather several feet out from the base. Finally, he suggests we water trees in the early morning and after sunset to limit evaporation.
The trees started this spring at a moisture deficit. As of right now, we've noticing quite a bit of wilting going on. So just pour the water, as much water as you possibly can. I don't think, unless you're in a real heavy clay soil right now, I don't think there's any way you can actually overwater.
And signs your tree might be stressed include curling and a gray color in the leaves.
Well, this push for H2O is welcome news for some summer businesses.
KRTV's Beth Beachy caught up with a local water company to see what these hotter days mean for their workload.
For Ross Fisher and his water delivery men, their busy schedules depend on the changing seasons throughout the year.
In the summertime, they're going to use more water because they might have a garden, or they might have kids at home that aren't normally at home. They're at school during the week.
Most of the time, Prairie Water drivers stick to a regular schedule of certain customers getting their cisterns filled. But this year was a little different.
Summer hit earlier this year, so we were busier earlier. I think that the economy has something to do with people buying pools, just picking them up from the stores, local stores, and we didn't have that last year.
The extra business outside filling the cisterns, Fisher says he welcomes.
So they are water bugs. They love the water.
And now the Badger family can say they are the happy owners of an above-ground pool. Or maybe the daughters are the happiest ones of all.
It was definitely not on the list of my list. It was on the birthday list. And our neighbors had a yard sale. And my oldest daughter made enough money and we ended up with a pool, and here we are.
Fisher says during the summer months, sometimes that extra business from filling pools in and around Great Falls brightens his busy days. And it certainly brightens the Badger girls' entire summer.
They don't know what to do themselves. And they got their grandma here this week from Southern Indiana, so this is the best week of their life.
In Great Falls, Beth Beachy, Montana's news station.
I spent a few of my summer days in a pool just like that. Now, Prairie Water says they do get the occasional call to fill up cisterns because wells have dried up. Fisher says he's glad to add those water runs to his schedule because he says there's nothing worse than being without water.
As for our consumption of liquids, experts are issuing a reminder that there are other ways to hydrate besides water. Health experts say those who are especially active during the hot days need to be sure to stay away from caffeine and extra sugary drinks. On hot days, the average person should be taking in more than 64 ounces of water a day. Experts say water is the first choice people should make when trying to stay hydrated, but it's not the only choice.
You can get it other ways. Our fruits anything that is high in water, like watermelon, cantaloupe, any of those kind of fruits. Your cucumbers, stay cool as a cucumber. That's a valid point.
Signs of dehydration can be dizziness and feeling lightheaded. If plain water doesn't sound thirst-quenching, McNamee suggests adding cucumbers, watermelon, lemon, or lime to your drink. She also says water bottles with printed volume measurements can help you see if you've hit the 64-ounce mark each day.
You can tell it's a record-breaking week when half of our newscast is about hey, it's
Yeah.
hot out.
That's right.
Right?
Where are you on your water today?
She's still thinking about that pool.
No
as a
comment.
kid.
Yeah, exactly.
I wouldn't drink any of that water.
No, probably not.
No, but fun to swim in, and of course get out to the water park, get out and just run through the sprinkler if you have to stay cool. Tonight temperatures will be mild once again as we kick off your Wednesday morning. Lows into the upper 50s and low 60s. Thunderstorms moving through the area tonight. I've got a look at radar when we come back.